Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, August 1st. So I thought today we'd talk about where to get a proper education. And I'm not saying, you know, in economics or business I'm talking about where can you get the best information out there. And then why some people excel and some people don't. Stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, today is the weekday. Today is Thursday, August 1st. And what I thought that we'd talk about today is, it's kind of like people talk about the different trade schools, which I think are good, especially like BOCES and stuff. Not everybody was meant to go on to college. And I'll tell you, this day and age, people that have gone to trade schools are actually working. There's more jobs available for them. And the reason is because they come out skilled. They have a skill that they've developed where someone that is book smart, they can tell you how to do it. But to actually do it is something else, right? So, where can we get the proper education? Where do we get the proper information to give us that education? And what I can tell you is, at 61 years old, I know now that I know less than what I thought I knew. Because there's just so much information out there. And you can't get it all, right? You have to take bits and pieces. And that's how life is when you're developing that well-rounded individual that you want to become or aspiring to become. You can't take and mimic somebody else's, of the way they did it and make it successful for you, right? Or not right. I'm saying that if you take a person with a business, all right, and you know every step they did, they give you a book. It says, this is how I started my business, and this is where I am making gazillions of dollars, right? To me, success is a happy person and making more than just covering the bills. So they have some fun time. Me money, right? Does that mean that every person that reads that book and follows those steps is going to automatically get the same result that Joe Blow did? Absolutely not. Because there's a lot of things that Joe Blow did that he didn't put in that book. For one, because he didn't think it was worthwhile. Maybe he's a good communicator, and you're not. Maybe he's very self-confident, and you're not so much. Maybe he's a big risk taker, and I can tell you right now, in business, the guys that you see that are doing good risk it all every day. I'm telling you right now. The ones that play it safe, it takes a long time, baby steps. And there's nothing wrong with playing it safe. And what do I mean by playing it safe? I mean, they're not willing to take any chance or invest into anything outside what they've been taught from their great-grandfather. It's usually a family dynamic. It's passed down, right? But the bulk of us that did well in business, we had more failures than we had successes, right? Joe Blow didn't tell you that in his book, did he? That he failed miserably. He filed bankruptcy a couple times. He's got a divorce. Kids that hate him. He didn't tell you that either, did he? He because he chose the business over his family. Now, ultimately, it's up to you to decide what is more important to you. My hopes is that you value family, friends, relationships, and are able to mix it so that you are doing what you hope to become successful, but you're also not, an asshole to everybody else. That's why we come up with two-faced, right? When they're selling what they're trying to sell, they got this smile and they're buddies and this and that. But you take them off camera and they are one of the biggest assholes going. Very intolerant. Very, you know what I mean? So it takes us back to, where do we get the proper education? We get it from watching and learning, okay? And when I went to college, I was in my late 30s, early 40s, okay? And I got my bachelor's degree. And I had one thing that bothered me is, because I was what I called old, was that I was watching adults my age be professors, okay? And some were older and some were younger. But most of them were right about the 30s to 45-ish at the community college that I went to. And the one thing that bothered me was, how much life experience does this person have? Where are they getting their information from? And do they come from what's the right word? From a source of power, or from just reading about it in a book? One of the professors that I had was a retired CEO with Boston Law, okay? And he decided he would teach a business course for one semester because they couldn't find anybody else that fit the thing with the background and the education, okay? And I asked him, I said, what is your success? How did you get where you were and where you're at today? And he told me, he said, look, I'm teaching this course because I feel the kids that are coming out of college don't have the tools necessary to take on roles in business. They can tell you how it's supposed to go, but that's normally about it. It's walking the walk, but not talking the talk. It's... So one of the key things that he thought he could do, and he said it was on a trial basis, and not because the college had him on a trial basis. It was he on a trial basis. Because if he couldn't change the minds of young, aspiring business people in a business class course, where could he? And if it wasn't going to work, that was going to be his last semester, his first and last. Not because he felt like he had failed. It's because people are only willing to learn and hear what they want to hear. Nothing more, nothing less. And the problem is the kids that are in college, and I call them kids. I mean, we had 18 to 22-year-olds, they're impressionable. And they look up to that professor like, I got to do my best. I got to read the whole thing, taking tests and this and that. But nothing in college will get you ready for life itself. It will give you a starting block. But if you went to a trade school in high school, good chances are you're probably already working where the person going to college isn't. Now, don't get me wrong. There were some kids that were working part-time jobs just to be able to go to college. And they'll get more value out of that education than anybody else. Why? Because they earned it. It wasn't because they got Pell Grants, other grants, and their parents paid for their college. No, they had to work and go to college. And that meant night courses and working towards the day, working in the day or doing day courses and working at night. And then coming in like, they been run through the ringer. And they had. But those kids I saw worked harder to accomplish, to get that education. Okay? So it brings us back to the retired president, CEO of Bosch & Long, of a certain division. He said, here's words of wisdom for you, Eric. He said, you're middle-aged, older than the average person going to college. And when you have a farming background, you've got some business. So I can see that. You're not a complete idiot. But you're never going to make it in business by following business courses. And my wife, I remember her and I talking, and she was saying kind of the same thing. She's a registered nurse. And they would get new recruits. Then they all wanted to go by the book, or the way it said it was supposed to be done. And she would tell some of the more willingness people that wanted to learn, the first thing you need to do is take everything you've learned and throw it out the window. Throw it out the window. Because what's being taught is not real life. It's not real life. And in order for you to succeed, you need to get your hands dirty. You need to get down in the trenches. And sometimes that means keeping your mouth shut and listening. Because at the time, the nurses that worked with her, were all in their late 30s, early 40s, and had been at it since their 20s. So they've been in the trenches with the doctors, with the hospital staff, with patients. And she said, you have to develop your own way. And that's what this retired business person was telling me. Throw it all out the window. Except for his course. Because he did. And it shocked some of the students, the way his brass language and stuff was. It was the best course I ever had. Yep. In 4 years, best course. Because it was real. I was talking and listening to someone that had done it, that had accomplished it. All right? Not somebody who's telling me how to accomplish it. It's somebody that has accomplished it. They have merit in my eyes. You have merit if you've tried and accomplished something that I'm looking to do the same. Not tried and failed, tried and accomplished. Tried and failed, as you guys all very well should know, is it's a challenge. So you try to figure out, you get time, experience, gives you wisdom. If you're able to correct that failure and you get success, that's invaluable to me. Because it tells me that you are willing to overconquer, find a way around, take that, slap and make it cotton candy. I know, my hyperboles, right? So who are you going to go and want to learn from? Me? It's someone that has put in their time and effort, busted their hump, come up against challenges, failures, figured out a way around them, and climbed the ladder or built their business, okay? Now, in business, I'm not stupid. In a lot of corporate ladders, people that rise are people that there's favoritism, right? So you have to factor that in sometimes too. So sometimes the biggest kiss ass in an organization makes their way up the ladder faster than someone that is showing pure grit and learning and knowledge and experienced. Yeah. So where can we get that knowledge today? The correct knowledge. Well, you can, Google is a wealth of information, but now Google, basically AI is in there, and they're only showing you that the half that you don't want to see. I'll be honest with you. So that went from a great platform to a not so great, based on what you're searching for. If you type in, the greatest business people in the world, they're going to bring up a lot of people that you don't even know of. Or you may know of, but didn't accomplish much. It looked good on paper. So, if you can't get it from Google, what about YouTube? Well, YouTube, the people I want to hear from most often are the ones that YouTube slows down, where it shuts your voice down for speaking their truth. I want to hear from people that are doing it. I mean, there's so many videos, YouTube videos, and Snapchat, and all these other crapolas, that you're not seeing the 30 hours that it took to produce a 10 or a 15-minute video. You're not seeing all the different takes. And you're so used to watching these channels that even the ones that have made well on YouTube tell you have to keep cut so it's resets the brain. Have videos in the background, have things going off, so that the person watching the video doesn't become bored with it. What? Why can't you just have a video that people would enjoy watching or listening to? And not have 100 takes. Is that possible? Yeah, it is. But the YouTube videos are fewer and far between. You can find some legitimate, real people doing real things without a lot of fluff on YouTube. So I'm going to start wrapping it up here. the main key point from this video is experience will get you farther than being book smart, right? Real worldly experience. And if you're in your 20s, you're just getting started. Hang on and enjoy the ride. You know, you've got so much information. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I thought I knew everything. Even in my 30s, you ask me, I always had an answer because I knew everything. But then when I got in my 40s and 50s and now 60s, I know I don't know squat. But I'm willing to admit that. I don't know squat. I know how my life and what has helped me in my life and how things worked and didn't work. But just keep that in mind the next time you're watching a video or you're taking a course online or you're reading a book on business, let's say, that real world experience is the winner, okay? You know, getting back to my wife, she worked in the ER in New York City and then down in Virginia, and gunshot wounds were coming in right and left. Stab wounds, overdoses. And then you come up into the North Country. I mean, we hardly ever hear of a gunshot wound. You know, and that even a stabbing. Overdoses, a sad thing, is we're seeing more of them because of the freaking drugs coming across the border. But that's what I mean. The nurses that are taught in classes aren't taught about this stuff. And when you're thrown in, you know, you're like a deer in the headlights. What do I do? Well, they didn't teach you how to react when you got a gunshot wound coming through the door and you got all these cops with guns and you got all these, you know, you see what I mean? So just keep that in mind. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday and catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning.